GM1 and all. Welcome to our weekly all hands meeting for January 22nd, 2025. Woo! 2024. Am I still in the 2024 mode? It would appear so. I wonder if I did that for the other meeting notes. Now that I think about it, I think I probably did. Yeah. January 8th, 2025. Okay, good. Anyways, either way, GM, welcome here. And this is our tactical meeting. So we're going to use this time here to sync up on work going on around BCard, eliminate blockers, and prioritize our work for the next week. Just FYI, this call is recorded, and often we will share clips of participants on social media, especially if you say something that's a banger. So if you don't want to be shared, don't say bangers, or just let me know. You can just DM me or tell me in the chat, and then I won't share you. In case you don't know what we do, our goal is to help purpose-driven communities use Web3 tooling to generate revenue and engagement. You can learn more by clicking on this little BCard link here. On the lag metric side, this week we had 185 in transaction volume, so that's down 150 from last week. Looks like our 10x in December is not falling through in January, which was expected for a couple reasons, but I do think that we can take some time. We have a couple things in the works, as we'll talk about a little bit further down, that can help us move the needle. We are down to 3 weekly transacting users. This is about even from last week. 0 new users and 10 communities deployed. Team-wide announcements. I do have a new Taxman build out, so give it a go to share some feedback. The goal with what we're trying to do with Taxman, so if you click on here, the goal with what we're trying to do is essentially make it easy. Well, I mean, we're changing the messaging a little bit, but it's basically converting your crypto income to your local currency to make it easy to do your income. So fast, free, flexible. I did do some changes into the UI UX. It's not perfect, but it is usable from an end-to-end perspective. So yeah, just give it a go if you haven't seen it yet. I do have a couple of things to talk about for that, but we'll go down a bit first. Any questions on the lag metrics, the lead metrics, or our team-wide announcements? No, nothing on that front. All right, let's get down into our milestones. Our goal, again, is to create revenue and engagement. And so we're aiming to get 10 weekly transacting users before we move on to the next rung of goals. So our in-app voting is being worked on by Tom. Tom, do you want to give an update on in-app voting?
Sure, yeah. Work this week was progressing towards mostly fixing up all of my crappy first draft code and tightening things up to make it ready for production in terms of the components that are being added in, and then also abstracting away sort of the calling of those components to allow them to reference multiple simultaneous spaces. So just allows if a community is currently tracking proposals in multiple spaces, like Black Flag is currently tracking, then we can add both of them for the user so that they could express their votes. I think that we're getting close to be able to get a production release out so that we can get a few more testers on a live version.
I should be switching over to doing UI UX stuff on the in-app voting, I think tomorrow. And so we could probably release pretty soon on that flow. Now, just FYI for everyone who's here, if you want to test it, please keep in mind that this is the embedded wallet only right now. We decided to focus on the embedded wallet flow because that's how we can get a really good Web2 experience. We are going to be working on the connected wallet flow a little bit later. It's definitely going to be a blocker for some community members to use it. So basically, it's only looking at your voting power in your embedded wallet right now, and it's only voting with your embedded wallet, and we will be working on that as we go. But still, good to get a release out as we can. And then our next steps, well, one thing I talked about with the ops team is that we need to be dogfooding our stuff as much as possible. So we're going to be starting to use it for things like Black Flag and things like BCard and communities like that, with the goal for us to be able to kind of have a lot of people just using it, just to kind of see if it works, including everyone here. And so it may be that as we're figuring out how to use it, we run into issues, blockers, that kind of thing. Like, for instance, maybe it would be good for us to just get everyone's account and airdrop a bunch of tokens into the embedded wallet to kind of, and maybe it's just like a throwaway token or something, but you can still vote on something that's going on, right? And so the way that we're going to be able to see if this actually works and is actually useful is to make it useful for ourselves first. Does that make sense?
Totally does to me.
Yeah. If we ourselves are not even going to use it, then it's going to be very difficult for us to convince others to use it. And so that's why I think it's really important that we spend just as much time on that front as we do creating new features. All right, going down to 10 users a week. So our goal is to start to create some top of funnel engagement that we can use to create a drip into our app. So there are a bunch of different ways to do this, but because it's the beginning of the year, I wanted to dust off Taxman because, well, first of all, I got to do my own taxes, and I wanted to make Taxman useful so I could do that relatively easily. And second of all, because it's the beginning of the year, we have a couple of months until taxes are due, and it's a good time for us to dust it off and use it to communicate to people and remind people that we have this tool that they can use to do their taxes that's free. And yeah, so it's a good time for us to dust that off. I'm not saying it's going to be the best possible lead generator, but it definitely could help us figure some of this stuff out. Now, I did get a new release out, and it dusted off a lot of what we did last year. So in this case, we have some new things. So I wrote it down here. So it includes the incoming and outgoing expenses now, and includes all tokens, including ETH. So before, it was just a smaller list of tokens that was based on a list of DAOs, our DAO partners. Now it's all tokens. And so that should help you do your income taxes. Another thing is that it includes gas expenses too. So the CSV output now includes gas, which honestly can make a big difference. If you're doing anything on mainnet, gas could be expensive, right? And so that is an expense that you should track to take away from your income. Also, I did a ton of caching and UX simplification. This was mainly to optimize our own usage because we're spending money for CoinGecko lookups and that kind of thing. So we're just caching it so that people don't go crazy. But it also means that it's a little bit snappier for the user as well, especially if they reload the page. So there's a bunch of stuff on there. There's still some stuff to do, including optimizing the gas lookups. I realized today that I could probably reduce that time that it takes by 80%. So I'll probably do that. There's also a bug that Tom discovered yesterday that I could probably fix today. There are also a couple of UI fixes, just like visual issues that I want to kind of clean up. And then I want to take a look at the flow that a user will take to ensure that we're actually getting the best of this as a lead generator. Again, yes, we want to help people be able to understand their tax liability. We want people who are in DAOs to avoid that kind of big, nasty tax bill that they might see at the end of the year. But to get some mutual benefit out of this, we also want to make sure that we are accruing some value to our own BCard organization as well. So just looking at how we are tracking this, like in our growth dashboard, how we're tracking how people are coming in and that kind of thing. And then we, and some documentation, because I did change quite a bit around the backend services as well. So I need to add some documentation on how to run it locally. Finally, we'll be ready to communicate with the world. I'm going to start probably tomorrow. I'm on a podcast tomorrow called Vibe Check. And it is all about go-to-market strategy. And so it would be a convenient time for me to just talk about Taxman. So let's call it a soft launch this week. And then next week, I think we can go for a full kind of campaign launch for Taxman. So that's kind of the goal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely makes sense in terms of another product that we can push out to let people know that we exist, right? It's some halo effect from people liking that product will allow them to sort of find more about us. I wondered if you thought we should do something similar with the Vault product.
Yeah, I do think we should do something with the Vault product, except it's less self-serviceable, right? Like it's really us who has to service it. Um, which means that like if we got an influx of new people, like we're kind of giving it away for free to our DAO partners right now, and I don't mind doing that, but it is like a bunch of work on me to onboard new people. So it's less useful as a lead generator. It's more useful as just kind of like our like for our own usage and our partners' usage. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sorry, for onboarding new people, you mean setting up things, integrating in back end things or whatever?
Well, basically, every time someone new signs up, I have to create like an account for them, and then
Okay.
usually I have to like teach them how to use it as
Yeah,
well.
that manual support I knew would always be a concern, but I didn't know the sign up process was something that was a manually triggered thing too. But that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. Like just for our partners, we could definitely leave it as a, if we're already working with you or you're working with us or whatever, then this is a tool you could find some advantage from. I think that's a decent way to do it.
yeah. Like I did want to dust it off a little bit, update the UI a bit, and move the URL over to get BCard instead of it's on vault.banklesscard.xyz. So there are definitely some work items up on that. It's just not a priority for me right now. Maybe if I'm bored one day, I'll get into it.
Yeah, no worries. I figured just thinking around sort of those halo effect products or whatever, that the Vault one could have some value for people as well too.
Yeah, I think like one of the things that I wanted to do. So I mean, I think I mentioned in the past how specifically around the communication of what is BCard versus what is BCard like the app versus BCard the foundation. I've had some difficulty with that, and it's a reason why it's been difficult to nail the messaging on our landing page. I think one of the things is we talked about potentially renaming the foundation so it's not the BCard Foundation. It could be something else like the B Foundation, and then BCard is like a product from the B Foundation, and then Taxman is a product from the B Foundation. These kinds of things. And in that case, it would make sense to have another website which is like for the foundation, and then we would have like the landing page for each specific product as its own thing as well. All this to say that I do think that halo effect that you're talking about is really useful. Like there's like what we're trying to accomplish with each product, and then what we're trying to accomplish as a team. And I think that those two things are sometimes a little bit different. Like there's some subtlety there that's not always easy to put into a single place. Anyways, to do. We won't get too deep into it, but yeah, that's something to do. And I certainly appreciate the points you're making, Tom. Any other questions about Taxman? All right, it would be great if all of you, went ahead and just tried to put your wallet address into Taxman. It doesn't take a long time. You don't even need to go through and set things up. I mean, I'll just show you how quick it can go. So it is a little bit longer than it needs to be, but essentially, you just stick your ETH address in here. You do the next step. It starts to look up everything. You can see there's a little bit of a progress here. And then after it goes through base and then Arbitrum, you can see that it spits out this kind of thing. And so this is all my transactions for the year, grouped by month, you can see. So October, go to the next step. It tells me what my income is, along with my total taxable income. I should be probably adding things like expenses and stuff in here as well, but I haven't. And then you can go ahead and write your email, and it sends you a CSV to your email. And that is really what we're trying to get to the users to do, is get that CSV in their email. That CSV is the probably actual useful part. Right now, this whole thing, like you can mark things here. Yeah, actually, this looks very weird here for some reason. Yeah, that's so weird. It looks different when it's smaller. Anyways, yeah. So anyways, there could definitely be some UX love on here. You can mark things as income, expense, and such, but I kind of nerfed some of the functionality here because it isn't exactly what I wanted. And so we'll probably need to take a little bit of a closer look there. But even just getting to the CSV, where for each of your transactions that's here, it shows like the fiat value down here. That in and of itself, I think, is pretty useful. So At least it's useful for me to have that automated. You can see, I have, this is one of my wallets, and I have like a ton of things here already. And imagine if I had to go ahead and look up each one of these. Anyways, just FYI. Would love for everyone here to take a look at that. Anyways, going down to our growth dashboard, I'm going to set this up with a taxpaying campaign. Now, the growth dashboard is kind of like it's really just a way to focalize more of our communication activities. We don't really have anyone who's really working on communication. It's all me kind of at this point. And I think that it's really something that I've, let's just say, neglected. I haven't done it as much as I could or should be doing. And so this is just a way for me to focus what it is. I want to get to the point where I'm reporting these metrics on a weekly basis, just like we do for some of the other metrics. And so that's why I'm going to be using it for the taxman campaign. That's just this whole taxman campaign is a way for us to kind of sharpen our teeth on the communication side a little bit. And then our next thing is the Black Flag Endowment Fund. Realized this month that it could be very useful for communication as well, for lead generation. So it doesn't take me a long time to run it, but I have been kind of figuring out how it's going while I'm distributing funds. So this month we're giving out something like $425 USD. Next month is probably going to be roughly the same amount of funds. And the key for us is like, okay, right now it seems like an almost completely separate initiative from BCard. We need to also look at it from back to front and see how we can kind of accrue value to the BCard organization as well with this Black Flag Endowment Fund. So that's something that is, let's just say we're going to be working on Taxman first and the Black Flag Endowment Fund second, but there's still a lot of juice in here on a regular monthly basis that we can use. In fact, this Black Flag kind of in real life events community, when I was talking about up here, we kind of need to dog food our own stuff. I actually see the Black Flag Endowment Fund as a way for us to dog food basically all of our own products. It's going to be a way for us to test and use our own internal products for like as if we're a community like that. And it's really useful on that front. Good news as well is that some of the naysayers from Black Flag DAO actually DM'd me somewhat recently, and they said, "Oh, we finally understand the utility behind what you're trying to do. Sorry for being such stick in the muds for being anti the way that you guys are going about it." So FYI, we're changing hearts and minds with this, and I think that's a really good thing for Black Flag DAO, for BCard, and also just the idea of creating engagement. I definitely think that what we're doing here is creating engagement, and it's creating revenue for community members as well. So it really hits exactly what we're trying to do. We just need to figure out a way to communicate it in a way that also helps BCard. So that's a lot of like word salad for me. Does that make sense to everyone?
Indeed, it does. I like the direction and a lot of thinking here about trying to improve the branding and communicate this stuff more clearly. I agree that we need to do more marketing, more communication. I personally think the Black Flag Initiative is a great idea, and tying that in with what we were talking about with voting. That's the kind of thing that are fun things to vote on, right? Who wants to vote on a governance proposal? People want to vote on where we're going to have a party. That's a lot more fun. So I think this
Exactly.
actually has huge potential.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Now, one of the reasons why people put Discord polls up instead of a snapshot poll is because Discord polls are easier and more fun to like do. But imagine if instead of seeing a poll on Discord, it just popped up on your PWA. You got a notification that says, "Hey, would you come to a party at ETH Denver?" And you'd be like, "Yeah, why not?" Right? Like so. Jost, I completely agree with you that we could create even more engagement with this kind of thing, assuming that our PWA was open for people and they had it on their phone and everything. Any other questions or comments on 10 new users a week? All right, I would say that this is like getting 10 new users a week is probably the top priority for me right now, or at least it should be intellectually. It certainly is. I would say that it's always I'm always getting pulled to do other things as well. So anyone who wants to help me on this, I would certainly love your help. All right, 10 high quality communities on the DSci Twitter AMA. Anna Thinker, do you want to give an update on this?
Yeah, so I've been trying to nail down times. We were discussing this before. Singapore is UTC +8. I'm gonna actually have to double check my timings now as well, because I'm +1. I just realized this. Darn time zone changes. Okay, so he's in Singapore time zone, which is UTC +8. I'm in UTC +1. I was thinking I was going to be in UTC 00. So anyway, I had tried to book it for this time next week, which is actually during our meeting, which I hadn't realized. I wasn't actually looking at the days of the week, just the dates. Either way, MGOes is on board. Still waiting to hear back from Kimberly. We have that VC person lined up. I'm looking for one more DSci community. I have messaged Flow Science. Haven't heard back from him yet. I think it might be because he might not be on Discord at the moment. So I'm going to remessage him via Telegram. And that should hopefully be all the scheduling part done. The next part is going to be working on the marketing. That can't really get done until we know a date, time, guests, etc. And then the next step on that is going to be, of course, filling out questions and also figuring out who else wants to join as guest speakers, including ourselves. So links, I am hoping to see you there if you can make the time. And anyone else here is more than welcome to come and join as a speaker, or just come along and listen and show us some support and give us some claps from the audience. The AMA will be hosted from the Black Flag DAO Twitter, so I'll be getting access to that from Hero. Links, if you are joining, you could probably join from the BCard account. And that's about it. The space will be recorded. They are recorded directly on Twitter. They're not easy to export. I don't know if we want to do any sort of audiograms from this or use the audio for any reason whatsoever, but it can be recorded from the recording. It can't necessarily be downloaded. It's very difficult to download the spaces from Twitter. There is an app you can use called Spaces Down. That is free if it's under an hour. These things usually tend to go over an hour. And so you'd have to get a paid account for that. I don't think it's necessarily worth it to do that.
Sorry, we have a
That's
paid account for the Black Flag DAO.
No. Paid Spaces Down account. Spaces Down is the service that is used to download the Twitter Spaces.
Oh, sorry.
Okay,
I understand now.
Yeah,
Did that change enough? Did that change from Twitter? Because you used to be able to, there was a 30-day window where you could still download it from Twitter. Did they eliminate that when Elon dumped all their tech people?
No, the only way I've ever been able to download Spaces from Twitter directly was to go into the settings, which for the DAO formerly known as Bankless DAO, that was always difficult because you'd have to get the login code in order to get into the certain area of the settings. And then when you download, it downloads all your data. So you get like 30 gigabytes of data, and then you have to go through and figure out what's what and delete all the other stuff. Yeah, that was how I always did it. I don't know if there was a way before. If you had experienced that before, I don't think I ever had that option.
Okay, if I come across it, I'll let you know. But when is that AMA?
It is gearing up to be next week on Thursday at potentially 9 or 10 a.m. Eastern time.
So the 30th.
Yes, the 30th. Yeah. So, so it'd be that. Potentially, it could also be the Wednesday before. Kimberly said she could make the 29th. If that's the case, I just realized this now. When I said he's UTC +8, I'm actually UTC +1. I thought I was UTC double O, which would mean that the suggested time would be 10 a.m. Eastern time. So we would roll right into that after our community call. So I'll keep you all posted on that. But yeah, again, if anybody wants to join as a speaker, more than welcome. If anybody has any questions they want to come up with, please let me know. But in general, the questions are going to revolve around on-chain communities, funding communities, DeSci in general, how DeSci can help both communities and the public, how research communities can access funding through DeSci, et cetera, et cetera. So just trying to bring the DeSci and that sort of 501c3 side together, and hopefully we can make business.
Cool.
Nice.
I think timing's pretty good for it. I mean, there's so many distractions all the time, but I think there's more attention toward those now. So
Yeah.
Cool.
Any other questions on that, Links?
Nope. I will be there if it's on Thursday. Friday,
Okey-doke.
probably not.
No, it won't be Friday. I have other
Okay.
things on Friday.
Great. All right.
Okey-doke.
So Glow Dollar, I had a meeting with. It was just kind of more of a social meeting last week, and yeah, they were actually. I think I mentioned this at the ops meeting, but they were actually quite. First of all, quite supportive of what we're doing when they heard about BCard and what we're trying to accomplish. It's very similar to what Glow Dollar is trying to accomplish. We are taking a traditional financial fee, which is interchange revenue, and redirecting it towards communities and looking at other fees to do that with too. And Glow Dollar is taking a traditional financial fee, which is just interest on deposits, and using that to fund public goods as well. So we have a lot in common on that front. Another thing was that I told them that, the stats on our card, that we have, 110 people who sign up for a card. And he was very impressed because they also have a Glow Dollar card that they put out with rain cards. And they actually don't have a ton of usage on it. He wouldn't give me exact numbers, but essentially he was very impressed that we were able to get the amount of signups that we were. So that's something to note as well. We were able to. So Glow Dollar is a company, or it is a private company, as far as I understand, that is backed by certain investors, right? So they are a company that has invested. They only have 3.6 million locked as Glow Dollars, but still, that's something that is interesting in and of itself, right? We are able to play in the same game as them, even though we have raised far fewer amounts of funding. Okay, so I think that us being able to punch above our weight class is a really good sign. I just wanted to share that with all of you because I think it's really good to note that it may have taken us longer. Actually, Glow Dollar is very similar in age to us, but we're kind of playing in the same arena as them, and so it's very possible for us to do just as well, if not better. So just FYI on that front.
He actually filled out the community onboarding form, and that came through this morning.
Yeah, I saw that he did. So Bram was also, he was like, is there any way that we can work together? I think he just wanted to figure out some ways that we could work together. I said we could make a Glow Dollar community to create some buy pressure on Glow Dollar. I told him, it's not going to work unless you actually actively unless you actually market it in your community and you have US-based users. But we can certainly do it, and it's an excuse for us at least to kind of co-market something together. And he was very supportive of that. So Arcusti, we may have another chance to do a kind of co-marketing campaign, just like we did with OMF. I know you said that those are very important, so we're going to have a chance to do that with Glow Dollar. And as well, I figured out a potential way for us to work further with them, which is I was kind of trying to figure out how we could get this on-chain endowment fund used, like this Black Flag kind of this Black Flag in real life events mechanism, how we could use it with OMF. But we need a kind of on-ramp for fiat to do it. So I was talking to Braille about it, who is the person that Glow Dollar worked with to create a stable coin. And I said, hey, is it possible for us to kind of have our users send money directly, get a Braille stablecoin, and then send it to their wallet? And apparently that's definitely possible, according to him. And not only is it possible, it's also possible that we can do it with Glow Dollars. Now, the benefit to do it with Glow Dollars is that the mechanism to move that money from fiat into our on-chain endowment fund would be because we don't want to be a money transmitter, we don't want to touch the user's money ourselves. What we would need the user to do is to ACH it directly to Braille, and we could show them how to do that within our app, just like we're doing for them to ACH into our system. They would ACH into Braille, and we would specify some kind of metadata of where that should go. It would buy Glow Dollars automatically and send it to the user's embedded wallet. And then from the embedded wallet, what we could do automatically is convert those Glow Dollars into USDC and deposit that into our pool together vault, because we need USDC to put into our pool together vault. There's not much demand on lending protocols for things like Glow Dollar or even our own kind of stablecoin. But the benefit of this was that from Glow Dollar's perspective, this is a win-win-win, because from Glow Dollar's perspective, more Glow minted means more money that they can use to fund public goods. From Braille's perspective, it's good because more Glow Dollars minted means more usage of their platform. And from our perspective, it's good because it opens up a way for us to enable fiat funds getting on chain. And the endowment fund could be the first use case of that, but there could be others. And so it seems like a win-win-win. There are probably a lot of technical details I need to get into, but this is another possible way that we could use Glow Dollars. Does that make sense?
Yeah, very interesting. So the users on our end wouldn't actually be receiving Glow Dollars into their account; they'd be receiving USDC. Correct.
They would receive Glow Dollars, and then we would immediately switch those into if for instance, if we were doing like a one-click deposit into this endowment fund, then we would just take those Glow Dollars, convert them to USDC, and put them in the endowment fund, and then they would get like prize USDC back or something like that.
Okay, interesting. And so it's the mechanism which is being used, which brings value into the three systems: Glow Dollar, Braille, and BCard, as well as Pool Together, I suppose. So 4 systems. And the end result is essentially the same. You put dollars in and you have dollars to spend.
Yeah, and so it feels like, I'm sure it feels like a lot of hullabaloo, right? But I will also say that this is exactly the place where we want to be playing. We want to be bringing all of these different services together and make it super easy for a user to use it. That was always the goal from the very beginning, to bridge the UX gap between Web3 and the real world. We want to take that hullabaloo, take that kind of chaotic nature of what needs to go on in the crypto space, hide it behind a very Web 2 experience, and just let the users have all the benefits without any of the kind of UX issues. So
I think it's a great idea to abstract all that behind the scenes and have the user end up with USDC in their wallet. I think that's fantastic because, in fact, I was just at it, and that's a different topic, or it's related. But when I've been talking to people about crypto, one of the first things I talk about is stable coins and their usefulness, and the fact that major banks are using it every day right now. And I bring up Jamie Dimon, the chairman and CEO of JP Morgan Chase. And so that's an entry point of the conversation about crypto and where it's most useful for everyday people. And I think converting that immediately to USDC and having that in their wallet and abstracting everything else behind it is fantastic idea.
Yep. And in doing so, what we're doing is the benefit that we're giving users is we're allowing them to generate revenue for their community and vote on what that revenue is used for. And so that it feels like a subtle benefit that we're giving people, but in the TradFi system, that's not really easy, at least not easy to do in a credible way. All right. I have a DM with Sayonara, who was here last week, on getting Raid Guild a card too. So we'll see. He had some different ideas of what the card would actually be useful for. So we'll see if Raid Guild's actually interested. But yeah, that's just something I just dropped into the Raid Guild server this morning. So we'll see how it goes. Let's pop into our task perspective now. Just see what's going on. All right. So Glow Dollar, this is our community. It's actually now we're at the point where I can actually work on it because we got some input there. So I'm going to put this right here in terms of our what we're going to be doing for our, let's say, a prioritization here. All right. Prioritization in-app voting. We talked about this briefly, but spent more time on getting this working for multiple communities. Next step is to clean up the UI UX and release the embedded wallet version. All right, taxes. How's this going, Christy?
I have not done the Costco purchase yet, so for the but I'm thinking about it.
All right, thanks a lot for that update. Taxman updates for 2025. So allow for any token, calculate gas expenses, send to our users, patrons, and social. Working on that as we go. But yeah, we're getting pretty close here. I guess like a couple of other things I mentioned. Update the documentation. And what else did I say that I wanted to do? I think I said something else up here. Oh yeah, the bugs. Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, so that's where we're at, and then I'll communicate and update the documentation. So hopefully that'll be kind of in communication mode starting, hopefully starting today. I said I was going to be on a podcast tomorrow. I'm actually going to be on one on Friday morning and tomorrow. So on both of those podcasts, I want to mention Taxman. Again, kind of a soft launch, but I will cast about it on Warpcast because they're both kind of Warpcast native podcasts. And then next week we'll get into the Twitters and the emails and all that kind of thing. All right. Growth dashboard. This is the next thing that I'm going to be looking at as part of the Taxman communication. That's going to happen next week. So I'll be working on that. But no updates since then. DeSci AMA. We have our guest almost have a locked in time. So there we go. Community Glow Dollar. They just filled in the form today. I will take all that stuff and get us ready for a product delivery of this, and then we can have Glow Dollar on our communities, and then hopefully the following week after Taxman we can do a full campaign with them as well. Black Flag Endowment Fund. So the vote for this month is done, and the Black Flag multisig did not sign the transactions I needed them to sign. So I'm going to do a little post reconciliation based upon the votes that we had from Black Flag DAO, the votes that we had from Snapshot, and then I'm going to disperse the funds. So I should be able to disperse those funds this week. And then we can talk about it on social media, which I think is a really great use of this. So every time we have money that's up for vote, every time we have money that we disperse, and every time that we're getting people to come to submit their events, we have at least like 3 or 4 opportunities every month to communicate about this particular initiative. So that could be really useful for us in the long run. Just on a side note, I've actually been pitching Coinbase hard to lock some funds into this initiative as well. For them to actually do that is probably going to take a little bit more work from me on what it is that people who sponsor this initiative get. But just FYI, it seems like it's a positive thing for us. And next month we should have even more events than the previous month. And then in February, there'll be a bunch of ETH Denver events too, which I think will be even more useful for us. So I think that at the end of February, we're going to have quite a good attendance ratio and that'll be something that we can hopefully leverage to get more sponsors, which will allow us to disperse even more money. So, anyways, just FYI, it's kind of a side note, but I'm working on it now. Next step: disperse January funds. All right. Contributor rewards and payroll. I assume you have not worked on this, Arkisti.
No, yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Haven't had a chance to focus on it.
Yeah, just FYI, we want to get better at this. It is like accounting and other kinds of things. This is something that we want to make much easier. I'm not sure yet how we can make this easier, but just FYI, it's something that if you're interested in, let me know. User needs research. CryptoDad has been working on this, and so we're gonna try to do it via our own network right now, and then potentially add other networks as we go. Similar to the way that we did our first big research plan, that we ended up having 650 people answer. So this is something that CryptoDad's been working on. Competitive analysis and user analytics. There's just a few small things to do here. I just haven't had time to do them. And then make a list of targets based on crypto donations. How's this going, Drost?
Sorry, I had to find the mute. I've been at a family reunion and stuff, so I have not done anything in the past week on that, to be
All right.
perfectly upfront with you.
Yeah, no, upfront is good, right? We're all doing this on the side of our desk, so there's no shame in not having made any progress. Just FYI to everyone.
Although I will say this, at the event I was at, I ended up having quite some interesting crypto conversations with non-crypto natives, and I personally found that to be extremely useful. And the timing of what's going on in the U.S. right now, and I think people are asking more, at least in the circle I was in, people that I thought wouldn't be interested at all, because they were just saying, hey, what have you been up to? And I usually don't talk about crypto, but I brought it up this time, and man, the questions just started flying. So I think it's going to be an interesting year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting year, and we could be positioned in a very great place to onboard people into crypto, right? People who maybe are crypto curious, but they don't necessarily want to get too deep. But if we have an app that they can just download and kind of be in crypto, that's something that could be useful for us, right? Like we could be positioned as the way that people access crypto. Anyways, all this to say that it's a culmination of a lot of things that we've been working on. But Drost, it's a positive sign, I think, that people are asking about it and talking about it.
Yeah, I think so too, and not getting in detail here, but yeah, I got some learnings from that. I need to make some more notes on it, but I'm really looking at the kinds of questions they're asking, and seeing then, and it's not like it's a manipulated thing, but I'm just, I don't often talk about it to non-crypto natives, and this is, I guess I'm not being very articulate at the moment, but it's helping me to think about ways to communicate going forward, because these are all new terms to everyone, right? In fact, this is just on the news the other night. I'm staying at my sister's house right now, and she's watching the evening news, and there's this little segment about the incoming administration, and then Trump launched his meme coin, and what's a meme coin, and so the news ended, and we had like a 15-minute conversation about what that all meant.
Nice. You know what it means.
Yeah, so I mean, it's raising. Unfortunately, what do they say? All publicity is good publicity, and not necessarily, but because of what the incoming administration is doing and how aggressive they're being about stuff, I think it's an even more fraught time for people. A, there's awareness, but B, they need to understand, what is a meme coin versus what is something useful like stablecoins, USDC, cross-border payments. It opens up that conversation. And I think if we get really crisp in our messaging, we can really tie into that that concern, that lack of knowledge, our ability to kind of step away, like just from the security side, and like what Tom was talking about with how passkeys work. We can, I think, I've just, we know some people in our own spaces, like I'm thinking of Downlower, who's always focused on security, and his project called Bulwark. Um, uh, I just think that we can part of what we can do is help people navigate that space of saying, look, yeah, there's a lot of scams out there. In fact, the leader of the free world has a scam meme coin. So let's talk about what this all means. No, I think it's potentially really interesting for us, and just approaching that. How do we approach it? How do we stay maybe apolitical about it, but just help people navigate the space in a very confusing and even more disinformation uh, regime.
Yeah, I completely agree that there's an opportunity for us to help people, right? And I think that that's why a lot of us are here is because we felt like there was some issue with the TradFi system. There's something that we gain from being here, and others helping others do that too. I think is a net benefit to us and them, right? So yeah, completely
Yep,
agree with your
100%.
take on this. All right. So other than that, anything else that we're working on that's not here? No? Okay, great. Let's go back into
ChippyCon, working on
ChippyCon.
ChippyCon.
So you're working on, you want me to put that in here? ChippyCon?
Sure, why not?
All right. What are the success criteria, Drost?
Obviously attendance. I think I would like to have some. I know we don't want to really want to shill stuff at the event because it's really more of a party, but I think we should have something there. Maybe a QR for BCard, because not everybody there is going to know about it. There's a handful of Chippy fam that do, but there's going to be a bunch of other people that maybe don't. And so I think it's an opportunity to do some to build a little bit of awareness at that bar that we're going to be at on the evening of the 25th, I believe.
Sweet.
So let's think about that some more.
All right.
But I'm happy to make that a part of the announcements and stuff. We'll do it in a it's all our own projects, and it's our friends doing projects. So let's talk about their art. Let's talk about the projects they're working on. As we kind of, maybe if we do introduce people, I don't want to spend the whole evening doing it, but maybe we have, when we have best costume, or I don't know what all the things we're doing. Maybe we can somehow incorporate something related to BCard in that, and or worst case, just have a QR that's as a part of ChippyCon sponsors, because I think, aren't we doing some of the Dow endowment fund for funding part of ChippyCon? I don't remember if we are or not. I thought that was
So specifically the Black Flag Initiative, it works for retro funding, so they can ask for retro funding after the event, and I actually feel like they'd probably be a shoe-in. Like I feel like most of the Black Flag DAO members would vote for ChippyCon. There's going to be two events from Black Flag DAO at ETH Denver, and I think ChippyCon and this other kind of like more low-key bar event. So both those events are available for retro funding, but I don't know, like we don't have a ton of treasury assets, but we could do a little sponsorship of a small amount if it helps in some way, or we could also like create a chippy community on BCard, right? Hey, if you have this card and you use it to buy a drink at ChippyCon, maybe you get something special. Like maybe we can work with Perchy to, like maybe we can pay Perchy to create like a comic or NFT and then distribute that to anyone who has like a chippy B card, right?
Yeah. So anyway, just some ideas around that, because I think it's an opportunity to I'm not talking about going on a 20-minute spiel about BCard at the event, but just, hey, this is how we help fund our own communities. This is what we're doing in Web3. This is the whole idea, right? And maybe I mean, I'd even be willing to preload my BCard and then use it to buy some drinks at the bar.
Exactly. Well, that's what I was thinking. Like maybe if we do that, and we see people like, because like we're able to actually see like if someone uses their BCard at that bar, we're actually able to see it happen. So what we could do is we could pay Perchy to create a chippy NFT. Hey, if you use your BCard at this event, you automatically will get airdropped an NFT or something.
That's cool. I like
Yeah.
that idea.
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking, right? Like, we can detect anyone who uses the BCard at this bar. And so how can we turn that into something interesting?
Right. And just promote a little bit ahead of time and say, hey, if you're planning on attending ChippyCon, by the way, you'll get a free NFT if you happen to buy a drink using, and if you happen to be a BCard owner and you buy a drink at the bar, you get an NFT drop.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah, so I don't know, I was just thinking, I don't know how tough that would be, or obviously I can talk about it. That doesn't get anything done.
I mean, if you talk about it with Perchy, and maybe get a price for how much it would cost him to create a specific NFT for us, maybe with the like a specific like ChippyCon BCard ChippyCon 2025 BCard NFT, like just ask how much it would cost him to do that art, and
Right.
then I think me and Tom could figure out the rest. What do you think, Tom?
Oh yeah, definitely for sure. It'd just be a matter of getting that vendor and then adding a little tracker so we can make sure we don't miss anybody. But yeah, it should be definitely doable.
All right,
Yeah.
cool.
Like if you
I
know
love
the venue of the bar too, I can ask Blue Bear to go over there. He lives in Denver, and just run a transaction on his BCard and see how it shows up.
Perfect.
Cool. That's awesome.
Awesome. Love it. I'll make a note of that and I'll follow up on it.
Cool. All right. So that's it for stuff we're working on, unless there's anything else that we're working on that's not on that list. All right. What did we ship last week? My favorite part of the meeting. So I shipped a release candidate for Taxman. Already found some bugs. Thank you, Tom, for taking a look, and thank you, Arcusti, as well. So this new release includes incoming and outgoing expenses, includes all tokens, including ETH, includes gas expenses on the CSV output, and includes a ton of caching and UX simplification. I also shared a monthly report on social using Tom's new liability tracker. We had 10x from November to December, so that was pretty nice. I also met with Glow Dollar, and we're going to add them to our app. I did some diligence on the Braille and Endowment Fund link, and looks like it might be possible, according to them at least. Tom refined the snapshot voting code and added support for multiple simultaneous spaces. This will be useful. More voting is interesting, especially when it's fun voting. Tom tested the release of Taxman and provided feedback. Hopefully, I fixed those edge cases this morning, Tom. We'll see. I'm gonna start working on it after this meeting. Tom also chatted with Snapshot regarding tools, integrations, and re-requested API access to reduce collisions on larger data queries. So yeah, interesting.
Just a little bit more feedback on that one too. When I was testing with the Black Flag space, obviously the number of voters on those proposals are a lot higher, and so I was slamming up against some real API limits. So that's something that will need to be fixed before we go prime time.
And how much does it cost to?
No, it's not a cost. It's just a request for access, and I had requested access earlier in December, but I didn't hear back from them. So I got on the support chat and then did a resubmission of my request, and she said she got it and put it in front of the dev. So hopefully we'll get some love very soon.
Sweet. All right, that's great. All right, so not much on the discussion item side. To answer your questions, I assume that this is from Arcusi. Is flow state still worth our attention? I don't think it is. Oh, that's you. No, I don't think it is worth our attention anymore. Okay. The funds that are coming in now are particularly from one group, and the majority of the funding will go to them because they got a half deal. So I don't think it's actually worth it. I will wait until the end of January or whenever funds stop coming in, and then I'll take all the funds out in one chunk and send them to our multi-sig.
Okay, sounds good. My stream was running out at the end of the month, and I didn't know if it should be re-upped.
No, I don't think you should re-up it. I don't think it's actually worth it at this point for us.
Awesome. We'll just let it lapse. Thanks.
Cool. And since we're talking about funding the embedded wallet, we should investigate and research Privy Wallet funding solution as they have added it as a feature. Oh, interesting. Yeah, that is really interesting. Okay, cool. So maybe we can use that to on-ramp funds. This is getting easier and easier.
It does ACH debit cards and even, Apple Pay. I was like, that's pretty sweet. And then even fallback funds from transfer from another wallet, right? So whatever works for everybody. I was like, that is just about everything we need, as long as it works.
Yeah, as long as it works, right. So I feel like now this regulatory environment in the US is getting a little bit more, let's say, open. It means that it's going to get easier and easier and easier for us to bridge the UX gap. It also means it's going to get easier for other people. But remember, again, that what we're trying to do is slightly different from other people. In a world where everyone is trying to make number go up, the number that we're trying to make go up is community and purpose-driven communities. I think that is potentially going to be our big difference. Now, that former idea of, hey, number go up, that is what most of the existing crypto space is all about right now. And our idea around funding purpose-driven communities, we are hoping that is what's going to onboard people who aren't the current crypto people. These are people who care about something other than just making money. That's what we're aiming for, purpose-driven communities. We think that crypto really could help us on that front. And honestly, it is a really great time to start thinking about that because of everything that's going on in society right now. You see, I feel like I don't have to say this probably to most people, but I will say it anyways. These things like big banks, these things like big tech, they have caused some issues in our society right now. And we see that. We see that being profit driven above everything else hasn't given us a utopia, right? It's given us this kind of society with the haves and have-nots. It's given us a bunch of different crises, housing crises, inflation crises, all these other kinds of things, affordability crises, healthcare crises. And I think that us being around to counterbalance that, counterbalancing profit-driven with purpose-driven, using BCard, I think that could have its moment in 2025. It's going to take work from us. We really have to bridge the gap with our communication. We really have to get to the place where users need to be. But there's never been a better time for what we're doing. And so I just wanted everyone to remember that, because what we're doing right now, this is exactly the time when we need it. And now that the regulations are getting a little bit more lax, again, this is just another signal that it is the exact right time for us to be doing this thing. We've been working on this for close to 3 years now. And, we've been slowly building our capacity as we go. And now a couple of good things that happen at once, that could make all the difference. That's what makes all the difference in software product development. That's what makes all the difference when you're talking about the difference between a failed product and a product that absolutely exploded. It's really just luck. And luck is what happens when opportunity meets preparation. So we have been preparing. We have been preparing. We should continue to prepare, and hopefully our opportunity will come. And I really think that there's a great chance for that to happen in 2025. So I see we're a bit over. Thank you everyone for being here. I really appreciate all the work you're putting into this. And yeah, let's keep moving forward.
I didn't know you were prepper links, but I'm here to be preparated with you.
Thanks, everybody. Let's keep building it, making it better every week.
Oh yeah. All right. See you guys soon.
See you later.